Okay, we are now recording.
Okay.
And
Okay.
for the record,
I'll
I
cover
read
the-
the rules of conduct.
Thank
And
you.
that we
And I'll
started the meeting at 7:02.
call the business part of the meeting to order. As usual, let's start with a moment of silence to think about what's going on in this world. Okay, thank you. Next order of business is approval of minutes, but I have one small thing that I spotted and I made a note and I took the note away. It's an item 6. It's a very small typo. It's to err.
Air instead of air.
Thank you, Judy. Can you pinpoint where that is?
It's in the second paragraph of, that's E, I think.
Item 6, maybe about the 5th paragraph.
Yeah. It's in Kelly Peck's comment, so. I can't find it now.
Okay, anybody else have anything? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes with that minor adjustment?
I
So
move that
moved.
we approve the minutes of April 14th as amended.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, is anybody abstaining or voting no? In that case, the motion passes unanimously. And with that, I guess we'll do transfers before we launch into our budget discussion. We have a lot. Bev, can you clue us in on what's going on the small ones? Let's save the fire apparatus for a separate discussion.
Yes, the apparatus is, that's a town meeting item, so that's outside of the FiPAC doesn't need to approve that, but there are 7 transfers that are being presented tonight. The first one is a total of $5,900 to add more, to transfer funds around in the facilities, building inspector line. The maintenance, the facility maintainer has been using more gas than we anticipated just because it's a new position. He's driving around. So we need to transfer $600. So we're taking that from supplies. Their professional tech line because of a lot of unanticipated repairs on the buildings. So we're trying to add another $5,300, but we're taking it from the machinery equipment line only because we know there's things not being purchased. So we're transferring it over to professional tech so we can bring that up and hopefully get them through the end of the fiscal year. The second transfer is the oil consumption for town hall was more than anticipated. So we're transferring $1,000 from professional dues because Kermit gave a credit. So we're able to transfer those funds to fuel to cover that line. The next one is on the, which one is that? Is this the chapel? Or no, I think that's the, that's the chapel. The chapel electricity line has gone over. So they don't need fuel. They're not using as much fuel because it's mostly electricity, heat and all that. So we're moving 600 from fuel and also the, wait a minute, sorry, let me look at this, make sure I have this right. So we're moving, oh, it's for the old firehouse. With the new changes in the new maintenance garage, they're using more electricity than anticipated. So we're taking from the fuel line that's not being used and also from the chapel electricity line, because it seems to be there's a little extra in there, and moving it to the maintenance garage to cover electricity for the rest of the year. $834 is needed for the Zedka farm. They needed a new lawnmower, so they're just transferring within their budget $834 to cover a new tractor over there. And then the commercial insurance line needs $3,567. We're taking from excess in the workers' comp line. This year, we have signed on to have a cyber liability policy, only because Kerman no longer includes it in their liability policy. So the town and the Board of Ed needed to buy separate coverage, so this should cover it for the rest of the year, and it is in next year's budget. $3,606 is needed in the IT equipment line. We're trying to catch up on some IT equipment replacement, and we're buying some laptops because of the remote work. So we're taking from the professional tech, which is funds that were going to be used for some of the IT services that we need to do because of the IT assessment, but those have been pushed into next year. So we're going to transfer that to help pay for new laptops. And the last one is $800 to the assessor's equipment line. She needed a new shredder, heavy duty shredder, to take care of her annual shredding and probably other departments in town hall. So we're taking from her professional tech line and moving it to equipment. And that's a total of $16,817 in transfers.
I thought there was another one in there for contingency.
Okay, so that's capital, so that's going to a town meeting.
Okay, so we don't,
Yep, those two on the bottom are both for capital. So they're both going to town meeting, which will be on May 4th.
okay, so we're only talking, I
Top
lost
one.
count. 5 or 6 little things.
Is that the same town meeting that for us, for the budget? Or is it
No.
2 separate town meetings?
There's the town meeting for the budget has not been scheduled yet by the Board of Selectmen, and that will probably be in June. This is a town meeting for the 2 transfers, which will be May 4th before the Board of Selectmen regular meeting.
Okay.
Bev,
We
I
have to
have-
publish notice for both meetings.
There should be a notice, legal notice going out, right, Mark? Probably. You're on mute, Mark.
It'll be going out shortly, the public legal notice in the paper. And we'll be holding the town meeting in Yeoman's Hall.
Bev, I have another quick question. I'm just curious. With the cyber liability insurance, do we also have to purchase additional protection that we put into our computers to cut down on the chance of some kind of a hack?
That's just paying for any liability that if a hack results. Our Novus, the IT company, is in charge of all our security and monitoring the systems. So we're relying on them to help us. Plus, we will be doing some training coming up and enacting some of the items from the IT assessment from last year so that the staff is more prepared to recognize when there's certain emails and other things coming through on the computer that they don't click a link or something. So we're working on that.
Okay.
Anybody else? Is there a challenge or a motion?
I move that we approve all of the transfers as indicated by Bev.
I'll second.
it. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Good. Are any negative votes or abstentions? In that case, it passes. Now, the 2 that we don't take action on, the 1,500, is that reflected in the last budget document that you,
No, I put it in, I have a budget document that I start amending today that I can share some of it with you, or we can use as a working document tonight. Or I'll send it out after if there's any changes tonight and make sure everybody gets it by the weekend. But these 2 transfers are in what I have for today. So I can share my screen to show you where we're at right now with these 2 transfers.
And Bev, I made you a co-host, so you can do that.
what else is changing?
So, after talking with Mark today, I found that I could reduce the health insurance line by an employee plus one. We have not really had any inquiries from staff, but so we're able to reduce the health insurance line by $21,486. And also the library looked at their budget again and reduced that another $2,000. So right now, and then with the rescue truck, which I can update you on, we're removing that from capital because of this upcoming town meeting. So I was able to reduce the Board of Selectmen operating capital budget a total of $148,486. And that brings the mill rate down to, let me look here before I give you the wrong number. It brings it down to 30.77, which is a 1.44 mill rate increase.
Did you, I know you sent me a couple of emails about what's going on with the fire truck. Did that go to all of FiPAC or no?
No, I think it just went to you. So I can share that with you, what I know tonight. Steve's on too, if we have more questions. So basically, the cost of the fire truck is $708,359. So Steve had sent me information about leasing the truck, which actually would cost the town more. So to save funds, it was decided to pay for the truck outright. And so the fire department would like to put a down payment of 90%, which is about 600 and, oh, 600, we'll say 630. I don't have the number in front of me. So we needed a transfer of about $165,000 so that we can get that down payment down before May 12th, which is when the pricing will change. We have a discount until May 12th. And then that will leave the balance of about $68,000 left. So it will be up to FiPAC if you want to put that in the budget for next year, or we wait until we get a final amount and do another general fund transfer, or we wait and see if the federal funds come in and I'm able to pay the balance. There is, since we are paying 90%, the company is putting that in an interest-bearing account at 2.5%, which will net probably about $15,000, and they will allow us either to reduce the final payment or just send us a check at the end. So that's the update, I believe. Do I have that right, Steve?
It was in our packet, the long packet that we got for this meeting.
Yes, you'll see some of that information with the transfers.
We'll probably learn about this in the town meeting about it,
Yes.
but is what I recall from last year when we discussed this, it's anywhere from 6 to 12 months for the truck to be assembled and manufactured, built for us. So does this 90% start that? Do they start building it at that point, or do they wait till we pay it all before they start building it?
No, they start building it. They hold on to the funds, I believe.
Okay, but I just wanted to make sure that we weren't waiting then later.
No.
So that's enough.
No.
That's enough to get them to begin building.
Yes, I
Yes.
mean, we could do less, but considering that they're going to basically put it in an interest-bearing account that we can use, get a credit back at the end to help pay the balance. It's
But what-
more an incentive to get them going.
What's the likelihood that some of this can be offset by rescue funds? I mean, should we put less down if we think we can recoup some?
At this point, based on the conversations Mark and I had with certain people at the state today, we should not make any assumptions that these funds are going to cover that or other projects until we get guidance.
Or anything, yeah. Okay,
Yep.
fair enough. Well, you had just mentioned it. You had just mentioned that there was talk of the final 68,000
Well,
possibly being covered.
There is the Joe Courtney application that Mark and Jen had submitted last week. It's
The
not
earmark?
rescue
Yeah.
fund, so it's different.
Yes, it is different. Correct. Okay, so 68 would be, we would request 68 because that's much smaller funds, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Bev, I'm trying to get to that number and first of all, I lost half my notes from last meeting. How much is in that capital account now?
A little under about $475,000.
475?
Yes.
Why am I thinking it's 450?
475.
Okay, so 475 and the 165 will bring us up to,
It'll make it a little more than 90%. So I kind of rounded the number up.
I
A lot easier.
Bev, I thought we were pulling 125 out of the budget for the rescue truck.
Yes, but the transfer from the general fund is going to be 165.
The full transfer, okay. We were talking about different things, Ernie and I. Okay, I got it.
okay, give me a second.
Do you want to see the mill rate pages with the changes that I mentioned?
Nah,
Nah.
I'm just trying to reconcile. Oh,
Not interested.
son of a gun, it comes out to 68. Okay. Why don't we do the whole thing this year?
I did use it. Well, that's a discussion for the Board of Selectmen approved last night only to give the 165. So we'd have to, and usually at a town meeting, they don't want you increasing the transfer. It's only allowable if you're going to decrease it. So
Also, Ernie, we feel that we've already applied to Congressman Courtney for 110,000 to finish the truck. If it due to what we're doing, we still can get 68,000 or whatever the final amount comes out to. That would still be a big help. That's why I don't want that budgeted. I'd rather that be hanging out there because we can't use grants or American Rescue if we budgeted it. If we funded it.
yeah, they just want to see that we partially funded and we've already shown that. And we may
So-
not need the whole 68, so we might as well wait until we know what the final amount is.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have questions on that? So you already, why don't you show us the budget sheet then? You already taken out this big chunk, so remind me what you just said. Where's the mill rate now? When we see this, it'll be at?
Yeah, let me see if I can get this to work here. Share screen. And, oh boy, look at all this stuff here. Share. Nope, that's not working. That's not it.
Where'd you go?
Bev
Trying
is
to-
looking for the exact file to share.
Yes,
Right
I know.
now, it's showing us a Zoom advertisement.
Yeah.
Yes, I have quite a few files open. Let me just, of course, the one I want to show is not showing. Okay. Give me a minute. Oh, wait. It helps to scroll.
That's it,
There it is.
right?
Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, I could tell it's on the screen. I can't actually see it.
You can make it full screen, Bev, if you want. Do you know how to do that in the second thing on the right up top?
Let's
This-
see.
Go
Square
all the way
box
to the
next
right
to the
corner.
X.
Oh, where it says more. Wait a minute. No, that's recording remote annotate.
No, go to your form, Bev, and
Oh,
right to the
this?
left of the X. Yeah, try that.
Right,
See
yep, right there. There you go.
if that
Now
helps.
you can reduce it in size. Oh,
And
You
now
have
you
to
can
drop
drag the corner
Oh,
over.
I get it. Now I get it.
Yeah, great. That was better.
Oh, hold on a second.
You can also minimize all your photos, gang, if you
Right,
want.
that's what I was just gonna say.
Get rid of everybody's faces by hitting the little dot in the upper left corner of your screen box.
Okay, and then. Okay,
Well, maybe we can save you some trouble. Does anybody on FiPAC need to see anything other than those two numbers? That currently
really. I'm okay.
That's good for me.
and I did look that if you were thinking of using the fund balance, you probably have to take right now like over $700,000 now out of the fund balance.
704,423.
There you go.
So if we took that amount out, then what would the percentage of the fund balance be?
All right, what was that number, Ernie?
704,423.
It says it goes down to 20%, but wait,
That sounds high.
Yeah.
that's fine. Where's that? So that'll bring the designated fund balance down to 29,26484. I'm gonna have to use a calculator now.
Don't worry about it. Let's talk about a couple of other things. That's in, right now we're at 704. If we found $704,000 worth of money, we're at a 0% or zero tax increase.
Yes.
Okay, there are a couple of things on that we wanted to look at least one, was whether or not revenue replacement was an option. Budgeting, taking some money from the rescue plan.
Now, the challenge we have, and I followed up again today, we're still waiting for the, basically the executive branch of our government at the White House to come up with, through their White House Intergovernmental Affairs Division, to come up with the rules for spending the money. And then it filters down to the municipalities. And our National League of Cities is involved in creating those rules. We think those rules will be to us in 2 weeks. Everyone's asking the same questions on revenue. What will count? How will you calculate it? The standard question is, we don't know. All we know for sure is you can't use it to improve your pension obligation. That's a definite, which is not our problem. You asked me to look at revenue. Bev and I looked at it today. And, we have, I'll just list 4 major revenue groups that are down. Beach passes are down 4,000. Rec park was recreational funding through the rec park or rec commission is down 21,767. Pre-K at the school is down 20,661. And interest income was down 97,800 for a total of $144,228. But they have not made a ruling on interest income. Pre-K has a lot of issues that could disqualify pre-K. Rec and beach passes are probably the only 2 I think will most likely definitely make it through. But again, we can't say for sure. And then also on the flip side of lost or where our fees are down, recording fees are actually up 8,600. Real estate fees are up 37,900. Permit fees are up 48,000. Transfer station fees are up basically between bulk and stickers are up 6,000. Pistol permit fees are up 3,800. So fees are up 104,300. So revenue's down 144, fees are up 104. So we have a $40,000 loss to the town. Net.
That's not taken into account property tax and some other revenues, so that's just certain lines, it's not all of them. And it's basically comparing today to what it was last April, year to date.
But we don't know if that'll be the rules. If
We were
it'll be
all, yeah, we were told today to not make any assumptions on anything because unless it's already been written, they don't want us making any assumptions, and we have to make sure that, because pretty much the American Relief Funds are gonna probably be some items that are outside of the budget too, so we just have to be very careful. We were told err on the side of caution here until we get the guidance.
So
Why not?
Bev, what does that mean? So and who in the state is saying it? So are they basically saying, assume that you can't use it for anything that has been budgeted, or?
Well, some of this, it's between what we could spend it on and what the revenue is. We were told, I was told by a representative at OPM, Mark talked to somebody at CCM. We were just both told the same thing, to don't make any assumptions until the US Treasury sends the information to the states on what's going to be covered by this money. The money may be coming in the next couple weeks. However, they're hoping to get the guidance to us, but right now they said, like we had all agreed, and I told them today, we're going to set up a special revenue fund. They said that's exactly where you should put the money until we get the guidance, because we have about almost 3 years to spend the money. So they don't want anybody assuming that they can cover things in the budget or replace things in this until we get some firm answers. So.
Now, we have our budget public hearing, I think, on the 19th of May, which is 4 weeks from now. Are we going to have information by that point about any money that we'd be getting?
We're hoping.
We're supposed to have it by May 11th as
Okay,
a deadline. In theory.
so we don't have to make decisions immediately. We can wait until sometime after the 11th.
Wait a minute, when's the public hearing?
May 19th. And we have to have a budget passed by June 30th, right, Mark? That was the guidance that was given.
Yes,
Well, the budget town meeting is June 8th, correct?
That
correct.
was,
Well,
well,
that's-
no,
Probably. The
If-
Board of Selectmen still has to approve that, correct?
If we think we can do a public hearing by the 19th, and if we think June 8th works, kind of this meeting tonight kind of sets the stage for how long do you guys want to hold out before we lock in these dates?
Well, it's impractical to wait for the information on May 11th and try to get everything published, get a letter out, get all the information out, get everything noticed. Do that on the 12th and then have a hearing on the 19th. That doesn't work, does it?
it'll cut it close, or we just have to tell everybody to refer to the website and then we'll have them look at it, or at that point, we may have to just postpone a week the public hearing.
That makes the most sense to me, the 26th.
So
You wanna-
bump the public hearing out to the one more week?
Yeah, that's it. That makes the most sense to me also.
Yeah, because we could still have the June 8th meeting, because we only need 5 days to publish the town meeting. We could publish that in advance and just say, go to the website for details.
Yeah, it leaves us 12 days, something like that. So
Right.
I think we're good.
So
When
you're talking about moving the public hearing to the 26th, you said?
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
Bev, do you know your chart is still on the screen?
Run it off.
your new mill rate. Thank you.
All right. There you go.
And Ernie, do you still want to have the regular FiPAC meeting on the 19th?
We usually have it after the public hearing. Why don't we wait? We can always, we got a couple weeks to make that decision, so.
Yeah, we do usually wait till after, hold a meeting right after the hearing.
Okay, so you might move the regular meeting on the 19th to follow the public hearing on the 26th and make it a special meeting.
Right.
Mark, Jen. I'm not sure if we need to double check this, but I think for, let's see, FiPAC budget meetings must be published 10 days in advance of the meeting.
Budget meetings or public hearing? Or the town budget
I
meeting?
think the public hearing, you need 10 days notice.
Public
Rick-
hearing, 10 days, yes.
The
Okay.
public hearing, the regular FiPAC meeting, which we normally advertise with the public hearing. We probably have to make that decision prior to the 10 days so we can get the notice out. So,
Right.
but we normally do it together just because once the hearing's over, we want to go over and you discuss what was discussed and what was talked about at the public hearing. So we may want to just do it at the same time, just postpone it.
Well, I vote we lock in the dates tonight and we get everything published. And if we're gonna push it that far out, we should be fine to have information by then. But we still might need a meeting on the 5th or at least a meeting on the 12th to figure out what information we get prior to the 12th.
Well, I would recommend keeping all the dates and go week by week and whether we're going to hold the budget workshop.
Okay, so keep the 5th, the 12th, and the 19th,
Yes.
and then decide week by week whether we have any new information worthy of a meeting.
That's never gonna happen, but okay.
That
No.
makes sense to me too, actually.
We're all pessimistic on
Yes.
information coming in a timely manner.
Anything else on that?
So we're definite on moving the public hearing and a FiPAC meeting to May 26th. Do you need a motion?
Do we?
Yes, I would.
I move to do whatever you just suggested.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any negative votes or abstentions? Okay, we're rescheduled. Oh, let's jump around a little bit. I tried to sneak through a cut to Maria's budget when she wasn't here. but you guys wouldn't. No, I just threw out an observation. I just wonder if anybody had any thoughts on that or whether we just wave our hands. Nothing.
Did that again, Ernie?
Can you refresh, Ernie?
No, I remember we looked at we got financials last time, Bev's reports, revenues, expenditures, and the Board of Ed report, which is predicting an end of year big number. And I know they make last year-end adjustments, so forth. But in the past few years, we've seen similar reports, and at the end of the year, they turn out to be pretty accurate. And we wound up with money returning to the general fund. It's tough to set a trend or to do an analysis that lets me feel comfortable with any trend that's going on, because every year's been crazy. But if you just look at that report by itself and say the trend has been, that report shows a big number, and at the end of the year, there's a lot of money floating around. If that's true, and if that's a precursor of what's going to happen this year, does that mean that a budget increase for next year is justified? Did that make any sense? Probably not.
I
I
think that,
understand. I understand what you're saying. Yes.
I guess I'm thinking that things are so unpredictable at this point in time because of COVID that I don't think we should we should be conservative in how we make decisions, so.
Ernie, may I make a comment?
Certainly.
So I'm going to say exactly, I agree with you, Dick, but because this year there were so many unknowns and lots of services were not provided that would have normally been provided. So I know that Bev and I are able to account for what the overages are or the unexpended items this year. Last year, again, it was primarily transportation and some of the other services we could not provide during COVID. And then the year before was really my first year here. So I don't feel confident with a reduction further than what we have placed in the budget for this year. And again, that's based on, we've gone pretty tight, knowing that it's going to be a hard year for all the town departments. But there are still substantial unknowns with students and student needs at this point.
Okay, it's just my job to make observations. like that.
Absolutely,
Not
absolutely.
trying to sell anything. Now
Nope, I
back to
gotcha.
FiPAC. Thank you, Maria. Back
course.
to
Ernie?
FiPAC.
This is Mark. I just have one other observation to make sure FiPAC's aware. We still haven't locked in fuel and gas. Right now, we're going to try to, Bev and I are going to be contacting and trying to negotiate something in May, end of this month or May. And we'll probably end up doing a blended contract, maybe for just 1 year. Because we have storage of fuel, because we didn't use up all of our previous contract because our usages have been down with the buses not running and the building not being used to full capacities. So I'll keep you in the loop on that, but we're hoping the fuel prices in the economy as summer hits, the fuel oil goes down and we can lock in at a better rate.
Okay. Okay, now back to FiPAC again. Based on when Bev factors in the fire truck and the land acquisition, gets back to, she's gonna show us a mill rate increase of 1.44. And if we wanted to use general fund money to cover all that, that's 704,000. And you did the math a few minutes ago and said the fund balance would be, what was it, 2,000,009?
Yes.
So as FiPAC, are we comfortable with that if we go into May 12th and don't have a bit more relevant information? What do we do? Do we go with the 704, or should we just think about whether or not a 0% increase is reasonable? Or is that something you want to think about for 2 weeks?
I guess my reaction would be, I'd like to think about it, but all along I said that I'm most comfortable with a 0% increase in our mill rate. And I guess I would be okay. I think we have to wait because there might be more information coming down the road, but I would be okay with taking $700,000 out. And just to remind you, Ernie, about a decision that was made over 10 years ago when we had to do the school roof. We made a decision to take even more money out, and our fund balance went down to like 7%. And you said you thought that was okay. So if it goes down to, I'm thinking it'll go down to 15 or 16%. I think that's okay.
Anybody else?
Ernie, may I? It's Kelly.
Okay.
I still feel strongly that we should have a zero tax increase and that we should not take. I mean, I never think we should take more than $1 million of value out of the undesignated fund as a general principle, absent extraordinary circumstances. I have not heard anything from either the town or the school that says somehow that this year is an extraordinary circumstance. I really don't think we should have a 10% increase. I don't think we should have a 7% increase, especially when we don't have the information about the rescue funds and how we can use them. I would much rather have very little taken out of the undesignated fund and let it stay somewhat larger than normal. And if we need to, because we end up not being able to spend the American Rescue Funds, have a town meeting later in the fall or next winter and allocate more money, just as we're doing for the fire truck on May 4th. I think we should not budget for things. We should reduce our budget for anything that we think could be covered. And then if it turns out it can't be covered, we can come back and if it was necessary, we can have a town meeting for it.
Okay, but if that's your position, I think the next 2 weeks, you should be working on specific recommendations for discussion.
I'm certainly open for a discussion if we get some better information in 2 weeks. I mean, if we know definitively or with greater certainty what the ARP money could be used for, I'm absolutely happy to change my position on that.
I'm not asking you to change your position. I'm just saying that if we don't get any information, we have to know what's on your mind for
Right.
consideration.
What's on my mind is don't take more than 450,000 out of the budget and don't increase taxes. I mean, out of the undesignated fund. That would be the limit of what I would consider.
Yeah, but we would need specifics on how to accomplish that.
It's approximately 215,000.
Right. And I can give you that. I think we should not increase the town. I think the school can use some of this year's money to prepay as they're planning to. It sounds like they're already planning to prepay about 400,000 based on last week's discussion. That's more than the 200 that we would need. So.
Okay, again, I'm not selling anything. I'm just saying that we won't have much time. The earliest we were going to get information is the 12th. We won't have much time after that, so we'll need to be prepared to be as specific as possible and then say go or no go.
Right. And to clarify, is the 125,000 that is presently in the capital budget for the truck, is that going to come out because of what we're doing with the 165 at
It's
town
already-
meeting?
It's already out. I took it out.
Oh, it's already out.
I took it out.
And we're still down at 704. We're still as high as 704.
Yes. We were about 900,000 when, like, before last week.
I thought it was lower than that. I thought it was down to 750.
Nope.
I think we should just keep meeting every week and it just keeps going down.
I'll keep
And
working on it.
let's meet every week until July 31st and we'll get some money back.
Okay.
All right.
Kelly, I have a question, if that's okay. Ernie, can I talk with Kelly
Sure.
direct?
Yeah, go ahead.
So were you thinking that you pull out all the capital expenditures and take them out of the budget and put them in the possible use of rescue funds, or were you thinking other areas of the budget?
I think it should be both, whether it's capital or operating. If it's something we're relatively confident can be covered, and I know Bev and Mark both told us we can't assume anything, but if it fits relatively squarely within what we think the ARP funds could be used for, I think we should strip it out and use the ARP funds for those items. Let's say, for example, the social worker, right? Maybe that's not the best example, but let's say that's the perfect example. We feel confident that that extra, whatever it was, $15,000 could be covered by ARP funds. Let's strip it out. If it turns out that it can't be, then we can do something to add those funds back in the fall, when we know and we find out that we can't use the funds for that purpose. So it doesn't have to be just capital. It should be either capital or operating that we think we can use the money for.
I guess I wouldn't want to see, and I know you're just picking it out of the air as an example. I certainly wouldn't want us to pull out some part of someone's salary and leave it up to town meeting to put it back. I don't think that's very fair to the individual.
Well, it's for added hours. They want to add hours for the social
I know.
worker, not her current hours.
Just my thoughts. I don't think you go first to personnel.
And I agree with Judy. I think that's not a good example of what we should cut.
In terms of
Yeah.
our making decisions about what
but-
to be cut.
At the end of the day, Dick and Judy, it sounds like there's nothing, because you want to be extremely conservative and you want to put every single thing into the budget that we might need to spend. And my concern is that if we do that, which is what, in prudence, maybe we should do, we're then not going to be able to spend any of the ARP funds because we budgeted for everything that we thought we might possibly want to spend. And now when they say, okay, tell us what you want to spend money on that you haven't budgeted for, we're like, gee, nothing, kind of. Why don't you just keep it? Because we budgeted for everything because we were conservative and risk averse, and we just decided to budget for everything.
Well, I wouldn't object to cutting if it would make sense to cut with the understanding that that money might be coming from the rescue funds and we can add it back. But it has to be something, I don't think it should be a salary item. It has to be something that would make sense in the long run, where we can perhaps get the money back in a town meeting. But let's come up with some suggestions and then we can talk.
We will. I mean, we have a couple of meetings between now and then. We will
Exactly.
have some hard and fast suggestions as soon as we, have a sense of what the numbers are. I think in general, the school budget, if they're going to pre-spend some of that 800,000 that looks like it's going to be excess, then, why can't they come up with 200 that they won't need next year? I know Maria just said that she can't, but
We pulled it out already to pre-purchase this year. We pulled items out of what would have been reflected in the budget to keep the increase in the request low. So we didn't put in curricular items and we didn't put in our technology requests and a couple of the capital projects. So that pretty much accounts for the majority of that, which is I think around 300, 400,000. Technology itself was 180,000. So we already kind of backed that out of the budget, knowing that we did not want to. We wanted to come in with a small increase. The increases in the school budget at this point, there are no adds to the budget. It's the known cost that's been rolled over. So if we reduce, which of course we can always look at reducing, but that would be current programs and services. It would not be other than, if there's trimming, there's supply lines.
right.
There's not a lot, I guess.
Kelly,
It seems to me very obvious that technology and an additional teacher for the school are probably very, very, very likely to be covered by ARP, but we're going to have already budgeted for them because that 180 for technology and the cost of one additional person
The
probably could have
technology,
been covered, but we're not. We're budgeting for it instead of hoping that we can use ARP funds for it.
the technology, so let me say the staff person is reflected in the ESSER 2 fund. So that you'll see in the budget document, it's not an increase to the budget. The ESSER 2 funds are offsetting the FTE so there's not an additional add. The technology, we wouldn't expect, what I've heard is maybe $200,000 or $300,000 in addition that could be used for closing gaps in student learning. So that was to maintain that staff person that we add in this year was to maintain that person over a 2 to 3 year period versus hitting a cliff. So it's the appropriate use of the funds is not supplanting. So it's adding that service for children and then maintaining the service for a few years. So,
Kelly, what's your rationale for not wanting to go above 450,000? I remember like 10 or 15 years ago, we took over $2 million out of the fund balance to pay for the new school roof.
And that's an extraordinary circumstance. We were saving towards that because we knew that was an expense.
We weren't saving for it. We took it out of the fund balance in that budget cycle.
If you have something like that's either bonding or taking it from that's one thing.
Kelly,
just like what we did with the truck, we were putting money aside. I know you're saying you didn't do that. I wasn't on FiPAC when you did the school roof, but as a general rule, the undesignated fund is for extraordinary expenses, and that's an extraordinary expense that comes along, once every 20 or 30 years. Same thing with the truck. With the truck, we were planning for it. We budgeted every year 125,000. I don't think that we should be raising taxes, building up this giant fund, and then using it as a slush fund. It should be for extraordinary expenses that come along that aren't really anticipated.
That's why we make an effort to keep a certain percentage in there for
Mhm.
those emergencies, and usually that's around 15%. If we take
Okay.
$700,000 out, then we're not going to get down below 15%.
Okay, you guys aren't married, so I'm not gonna let you fight all night, okay? Um,
Uh-oh.
Okay, we know what we have to do. We know what the options are. And we're all gonna have an opinion, or several opinions. Again, we're probably not gonna be on the spot or be able to move at least until May 12th. So it's good that we're throwing some of these things out tonight because it gives us time to think about our position and think about how it impacts some other decision we have to make. So again, I repeat what I said maybe 2 weeks ago. If you look at especially the capital plan, if we try to execute that as presented, there's no way we can have a zero tax rate increase over the next few years. Getting through this year is going to be one thing, but when we think about what we want to do with the tax rate and with the fund balance, I suggest you take another look at that capital improvement plan. There's some big items in there: the new garage, the new pavilion, the new something else. But there's some big ticket items in there that even with the rescue plan money, we still might be hard pressed to maintain a zero tax increase over the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. So, I think there's a lot to think about, and we need to be willing to keep the big picture in mind. So I'm not selling anything, just trying to throw out the items that we need to consider and be ready to fight for what you believe in and compromise a little bit so we can be done with this. Anybody else have any thoughts or anything you want us to think about before next week or the week after?
Just Ernie, to finish your point, we do have a lot of big expenses coming up, and I don't think we should be depleting our undesignated fund when we know that those things are coming up in the future. That's my point.
Okay. Fair point. Anybody else?
I do think it's going to be very hard to have a cogent explanation of the need to increase the mill rate that will make sense to the citizenry when they know that millions of dollars are coming in to towns. I mean, they don't have the information. We don't have the information either, but they know that every town is getting a lot of money. So it's it would behoove us to be able to be extremely clear about what we're doing and how we've tried to, I guess this is to Kelly's point, how we've tried to use that money to hold the line on taxes this year. I think it feels like, wow, if they're going to raise taxes this year in the midst of COVID, you know, what's coming. So.
Oh, we've extended the budget session longer. I mean, I think we're demonstrating that we're putting forth our best effort to get the most information. You know, and if, who knows, maybe on the 12th or the 11th, whenever we get that information, who knows, maybe rural towns that are in a good financial situation aren't going to get anything. It's very possible. I wouldn't discount that. I think it could end up going heavily to the cities. So we don't know. But I think we're doing the best we can. And I think, you know, waiting is a smart move. And then, you know, we'll have to make a decision at that point if we want to raise taxes or take it all out of the fund.
Okay, let's go back to replacing lost revenues for a second. Somebody said we've been advised not to make any assumptions. The people telling us to do that have no real authority to tell us what to do. Is that correct?
Correct.
They'll just
Okay,
be the
so-
ones providing the information.
Say that
So
again.
they're the ones going to be providing the information to us once they get it from who's ever above them.
Oh, yeah, but if they don't give us anything, and we choose to disregard this little advice, don't assume anything or don't do anything or sit on your hands, they can't really punish us. In the long run, it will be us reporting how we use money to the federal government, maybe through
Well,
them.
We are subject to audit, so our auditors may be the ones who have to look for it when they come in. So we have to make sure they're the ones who are going to be probably reporting it. So because they were doing it this year with the little bit of had to do additional work a little bit for the CRF funds last year. They had to do a little more looking at how some of the spending was. Fortunately, we were fine, but they might be put to task by the state to see how we're spending the money or using the money and reporting back. So we just have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I guess my mind's all over the place, but nothing you put in the budget about maybe replacing lost revenue constitutes a violation. It just says it could just be a stupid assumption. Not a violation. You only violate if next year, let's say you put in the budget, you're going to transfer some money to replace lost revenue. And next year, you know what the firm rules are that says you can't do that. Then you don't do that, or you do it and get punished. But
It'd be
putting it
like-
into the budget,
It'd be like us assuming, I think we'll collect 99% of our taxes next year, and we collect 96.
Yeah.
Well, we just didn't collect what we predicted.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's something to think about, what our position really should be on this, we shouldn't be in a position of not having any information. So we make the best decision we can, or what we think is the most likely outcome, and go with it. So I think we should have further discussions and not be totally discouraged from maybe assuming we're going to use some money for our revenue replacement. But again, it's not a decision we're going to make tonight, but something we're going to think about as a possible action item for budget purposes. And what we do in reality next year will depend strictly on the guidance that we get. Make
Makes
sense?
sense, Tony. Yes, makes a lot of sense. Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Anything
we
else we
gonna
can do tonight? I'm sorry,
I have a
somebody was
question
telling.
about will we have an updated version of the budget since the 4/12 one? Or did you say that already?
I think Mark just has to inform the Board of Selectmen the changes that we made and get a consensus that it's okay to keep them in there. And then we can send it out to you I can send it out Friday, including updating all the current year numbers.
Great. Sounds great.
And we're
Say that
having a
again.
meeting next week.
What was that, Beth?
Are we going to have a meeting next week? Yes? No? Yes?
I thought so.
Okay.
FiPAC meeting, yes, you have one scheduled for
The 28th.
28th. Okay.
Ernie, are we having a meeting on the 28th?
Well, let me back up a second. Why do we need Board of Selectmen approval to put the,
Mark and I met today, but he did not let the Board of Selectmen know that we made changes to the proposed budget. Unless you want to accept the ones that we just made, and then
Well,
we just have
what
to let
changes
them
are you
know.
talking about, Beth? Because they're already aware of the rescue truck.
They didn't know we were taking it out of the budget, and they also didn't know about the library or the health insurance change.
at this point, though, that's FiPAC. It's not
Right.
Okay.
Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, those
That's
are
fine.
minor too, Beth. Those aren't major changes. The rescue truck, they voted to take it to town meeting, so they're aware of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they don't have to rubber stamp the reprinting of this page that reflects those decisions. That's just a worksheet for FiPAC.
Well, I was just thought Mark might want to inform them as a courtesy.
Oh, I'll
I'm
do
sure he
that.
would. No, I'm sure he would, and I have no problem with you guys discussing it. But I'm just saying that us developing worksheets doesn't require Board of Selectmen approval before you show us those worksheets.
Oh, yeah, I just said as a courtesy to let them know,
Yeah, okay.
That's
I'm not
Yes.
beating you up, Bill.
No, and you're correct, Bev. I would definitely inform them of anything we come up with, so they're not surprised.
Oh, that's just my assumption that that would always happen. So I'm speaking more from two FiPAC new members especially, so we just understand what the process and the procedures are and how this works. Not angry, not having a power play, not concerned about anybody else exerting any power. We're just saying, I like the way it's going. I understand the way you're putting stuff together, and just do it. And we just don't want to make sure there's no extra red tape in the process, which I'm
Yep.
sure they know wouldn't hold up the process, but sometimes you just need to say stuff out loud and get in trouble for it. So I can take the heat. Anyway, anything else we can do tonight?
Ernie, do you want to have a meeting next week on the 28th?
I'm listening. What about you?
Is there a way that we can wait and see if Bev and Mark have some updates to give us? If there's no new information, I don't think there's a need for the meeting, but I'm pretty sure that it's at least a chance that between now and then, there might be more information that we might want to hear.
I doubt it. What kind of information could possibly come up?
I'm thinking about maybe money about the rescue plan or things along those lines.
We already said that's, well, you got something today. Didn't you send me something today, Mark, or Bev, reaffirming the $1,000,000?
Yes, so I can forward that to everyone. It was just an FYI that came out this morning. Those are still rough estimates of the money that's coming in for the town. I didn't get an update on the school, but it did give the county money, which is definitely over $1 million that could be
But-
coming to the town of Columbia.
But they also said, don't count on that.
Yes, I was also told that these numbers are still preliminary and they are subject to change. So,
So just getting back to whether we meet, can we make a decision like on Monday to meet, or just maybe we should just plan a meeting 2 weeks from tonight on May 5th?
I mean, if we wait 2 weeks, then that'll give us more time. I can meet with
Yeah.
Maria and Mark and see if there's any other changes. We won't have to rush to get it done next week. And you'll have 2 weeks to go through the document with, have more questions or,
Well, is there anybody on FiPAC who thinks we will benefit from a meeting next week?
Ernie, I think we might benefit from it, because I think your point is very well taken, that we might not have enough information from ARP, and we need to have a plan A and a plan B. One, if we get good information, and one, if we don't get good information. So we have the 28th and we have the 5th. So we could use that time to come up with our plan B in case we don't have enough information, like what would we actually cut if we could, what would we do if we know we can spend the money and we have good guidance, what would we do? And then plan B. So we really do need to come up with 2 plans, I think, at this point. And I don't know that one meeting on May 5th is going to be enough to come up with 2 plans. Do you? I mean, you've been doing this a lot longer.
Well, I can come up with a plan in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Well, we have the
then we all
12th
spent
too.
55 minutes talking about it, so.
It's not hard to cut capital if
Right.
we're rolling the dice that ARP can cover it, or we have a fallback.
there are 2 capital projects that cannot be touched because we have federal funds and we have steep grant coming in, and that's the Hop River Bridge and the box culvert. So those cannot be touched. We have to keep
Okay.
those intact because those are already kind of been earmarked, and especially the steep grant, we have to make sure the application said we'd have a certain amount in there, and we need to have that in there. And the other one is Hop River. We've already guaranteed we would fund a certain amount every year, so we have to keep those 2 in there.
Okay.
So
Okay,
So do you
And
think
we
we
have
can
to-
do all
don't-
that on May 5th?
Well, we have
could
2
figure
weeks,
it
right?
out.
Don't we have the 12th also? Because
Right,
next,
but that'll be the final
The
meeting.
fifth, and the 12th were tentative if you need them. So, I mean, if you feel we should make them definite, then we certainly I can update that in the budget document, or we just go week by week.
Well, I'm just thinking, I agree with Kelly that if the 5th was our last chance to meet, then probably meeting next week would make sense. But since we've got 2 weeks, I think waiting 2 weeks would be okay. Unless something material comes up, we can, I guess we can't put it back on once we take it off, can we?
Well, you don't have to take it off.
Oh, we can just
Let's-
cancel it?
We cancel at the last minute if you want.
Right.
Yeah, I think that probably makes the most sense.
So
Yeah.
we'll touch base with Ernie on Monday or Tuesday and make a
Right.
decision.
If we have no new information, Ernie, Bev and I'll talk and either keep it or cancel it.
Yeah.
If it's no new information, we'll cancel it. If we have more things to talk about, we'll have a meeting.
Okay, I like that idea.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think that was your original point, Dick.
Yes.
I think that was a long way to get back to that one.
I know that, yeah. Actually, if we're done with this, I had a question of Mark. I know that you're having the town meeting at Yeoman's Hall on May 4th. What are the rules of that? Wearing a mask? I mean, is it going to be hybrid, like a virtual meeting plus a town meeting? Or how's that going to work?
So the governor just released the executive order that said you can have an in-person meeting, a hybrid meeting, or a total virtual meeting. All three are acceptable. From the towns I've talked to that have tried to have hybrid meetings, they were a disaster. Because people who have not been used to doing Zoom meetings are, they're chatting, they're treating it like Facebook, they're having fights, and they're required to come in 45 minutes early to be pre-registered through the registrar, and then get a secret code to come back into another Zoom meeting
Oh,
because
geez.
they're all validated. It's total confusion. So I've talked with Stephen and the board and Bev and Ernie, and we're more comfortable having an in-person meeting only. And if we have numbers that are too big, we'll spill outside. But I don't have the IT staff to try to do a hybrid meeting right now. I don't think it'd be successful.
So you're going to ask, though, that people wear masks and social
Right.
distance?
Wear masks, social distance.
Okay.
We think we can do a normal town meeting for the transfer of the rescue truck in Yeoman's Hall, but a public meeting and an annual town meeting, we're going to schedule the gymnasium at Porter to have as much room as possible.
Okay.
That's great.
I love it. Get back to normal.
I do too. I
Yes.
like that.
I agree 100%.
And does that mean future FiPAC meetings are gonna start being in person?
We're setting up the technology to do that so that the FiPAC members can come to the conference room. Anyone who's uncomfortable or the public will come in through Zoom on a big widescreen TV with a new device that'll be in the center of the conference room to pick up all our voices and video. So that technology is purchased and we're testing it and refining it right now.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Was
Sure.
that in the budget? I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
it's already
Don't
taken
use
care
our
of.
money for it?
We already took care
Mark's
of it.
treat to the town. I have a question. Is it appropriate to ask people if they've been vaccinated, if that matters?
There's a lot of controversy on that right now. Some towns were thinking of actually laying off employees that don't vaccinate. I spoke out at the meeting that I didn't think that was appropriate. And some companies are laying off people that don't vaccinate. So it will become a hot issue. I don't think we're to that point. That seems to be too extreme. And right now we're just asking, we're taking we're taking down people's phone numbers and names and ask if they feel all right when they come into town hall. They're just filling out a contact sheet, but we're not asking if they're vaccinated. The only place where we're keeping that record is in the senior center. And it's voluntary if they want to release it, because that's opening up groups to get together to play cards and pool and stuff like that. So it is not easy to figure this stuff out right now.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Anything else?
No?
If not, I'm gonna do my new rule and declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you,
Amen.
folks.
Okay, we'll
Thanks,
see,
everybody.
we'll see
Bye-bye.
you guys in a
Thank you
week
all.
or 2 weeks.
All
At
right,
8:13.
bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, be
all.
safe.
Night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.